What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Rafael Esparza, coming to you with a live segment of the Bullpen, a joint venture between myself, the Grappling Hour, and Inside BJJ. It's been a busy week, y'all. Before I even start on the show, I just want to say I am very excited for Sparstar BJJ this Saturday. It's taking place in Commerce at the Dirt Dog. I think you guys want to come out for this one. We have 2 4-man BJJ tournaments in both the 155 and 170 divisions. We got some incredible talent involved on that, so super stoked. And yes, Egg, I 100% see where you're coming from. You are slightly confused as to, is it Friday? But good news, First and Freedom just picked up my DD 214, about to hop a flight back to Colorado. Well, congratulations to you, Egg. We joke all the time, but you worked your ass off, sir, and so you deserve that. And speaking of somebody who deserves things, rightfully or unrightfully so, undetermined, one, Tim Freeman. Tim, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, Raf. It's great to see you. Some interesting things happen in the world of jiu-jitsu to talk about this week. Had a nice UFC. Had a pretty good week. I would agree with you. It has been very, very busy, but I'm humping and bumping, hanging and banging, staying on the trail. I know that we're both going to get there, my man. So we got a great show lined up. I can't wait to get into it, big dog. And it is good to see Egg. And I got to ask you this, Raf, real talk. I see a comment from me in the comments.
Yeah.
And I made no comments. Where is this coming from?
All right. You asked for show revealing the magic stuff.
If this is magic, just tell me to shut up. I've been confused, but now I have an idea.
So if you got to get into the minutia of this, the way our stream is set up is that I stream to certain places from certain places and to other places from different places. So for Inside BJJ to get this stream, it has to go through Ecamm. When that happens, I send all of it as I can through like there, but Grappling Hour goes through Restream. The problem is I can't respond as me on Ecamm when I'm running it. So I have to pick one of the several accounts. Now I can legally, I think, and we'll do a test of this right now. I'll show you exactly how this works. I will send a response back from PGF World that says, "Sup, y'all." Now, here's my question for you guys. Does that not look like something that BMAC would send? Or somebody from Alabama, does. From PGF World?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't try to confuse people in that way. The one I will pick is Inside BJJ because I feel like we're a twofer on that one. And I will say something like,
my man, Raph, I have to tell you, I have read so many comments made by Inside BJJ during our shows, and I'm always like, yo, dude, I make a note. You need to look into this. Like, is there a bot that's impersonating you on the internet? What's going on? But it's always like reasonable, like rational comments. They're never crazy. They're never wild. And I don't know. I'm like, someone's just doing a good job as me out there.
I feel like this is important to determine here because I would never speak out of turn for your company or your brand, but functionally people are asking questions that I go, all right, well, I am speaking on behalf of us right now. And since I don't have a drop down, and sometimes I do have a drop down, it just depends on the week. We have been experimenting with this stuff, but I feel like this is the most boring stuff that people are like, sure.
Right.
Okay.
Right. They're upset.
Well, I just feel like sometimes people don't know what the situation is. So we get into that a lot here, Tim. But if we are discussing great moments in RAF history, I would like to apologize to you because Tim and I are pretty good about scheduling. We're adults. And I totally misread. So I thought we were going to go later today. And we've been doing this thing, we're calling it Block Party, where I repeat episodes of the show in case you haven't seen it, because sometimes people haven't seen every single thing that we've done. So the way the Block Party works is usually an episode of the Bullpen, an encore, meaning pre-recorded back in the past episode, re-airing it, then a grappling hour interview, usually about an hour of that too. And then I'm trying to give people a look at my vast library of stuff. Because let's be honest, Tim, you and I probably have the biggest libraries in all of jiu-jitsu. I think it's us, BJJ Mental Models. They do a lot of stuff too. And the BJJ Fanatic show, which Gringo Ryan runs. And I think they do great stuff. They got a lot of stuff. But we're talking about, like, we have a very vast library. So I'm trying to show people a peek behind that big library. So you might see some really old episodes, or you might see a peek at some of my premium stuff. But yeah, in doing all of this, it has been fun to have people yelling at us currently in those comments and having feelings about those things, where I'm like, well, dude, this already aired, so I don't know what else. I can't respond to you unless I respond as Tim in the comments. So
you're getting mad about the past.
I would like to formally apologize to you, Tim. I'm sorry that I misread today. I got a little bit there.
No. Oh, no apology necessary. This is just, I do the same thing. So carry on. We got this, my man.
I'm not even going to dignify that. Let's move. I will say this, Tim. I want to bring up a few TikTok comments to you.
Okay.
Because I think people are under the perception that we are so pro UFC BJJ Opens. So can you say implicitly what your stance is for UFC BJJ Opens, Tim?
Oh, that's a great question, Ralph. I'm glad you brought that up. UFC BJJ Opens. My personal opinion, everyone's going to talk trash about it, but then everyone's going to go do it. It's kind of like the TV shows that people watch that they don't want to admit that they watch, but they all secretly watch it. That's kind of how the UFC BJJ Open feels. I know there's a lot of feelings about it, but let's be real. If you go back any length of time, go back a decade in jiu-jitsu, I dare you go back 20 years. The biggest complaint that the jiu-jitsu crowd had was we can't get anyone to pay attention to us. Man, it would be cool if the UFC would invest in us. But what we didn't know is that they were going to do it themselves. We thought they would give us money and then we would do it. And so now that they're kind of doing it, there are feelings about it. I get those feelings. Some of those feelings are valid. But listen, man, if you're a parent, you got a 10-year-old kid, and, the option is, tournament A somewhere out in the middle of nowhere with no one you've ever heard, and then tournament B is UFC BJJ, you're going to Vegas. You're going to go do it. You're going to put your money down. The kids want it. The people want it. Everybody recognizes the brand. They have the money and resources to put behind it. It might turn out to be a great thing. So I'm not really hating on it, and I'm not really big into it at the same time. Let's wait and see. But to cast it one way or the other is, I get how people are on the internet, but you got to be fair. Like, let them have the event. Let's see how the event goes. Let's see that first. Because if it's janky, I'll be the first one to go on a diatribe about it, Raph. But I guess that's my official statement, which would not be that great if I was in a political debate. But, I'm not, thank God.
I think it's pretty measured, though. And I think that the internet has no time for measured responses. They want to know. Pinko or not, tell us what your deal is, Tim. So I'm going to show you a few comments that we got on this. Okay. So the first was, that's multi-count. So this is in response to us saying that 2,000 people signed up. Now that is accurate. It is a multi-count. So people could sign up for multiple divisions. But when you press athletes, it does say, at the time, it did say over 2,000. And I said, sure, not everybody is multi-signed up. But even if they're double signed up, that's still good business. Can't get around that, right? He says, yes, of course, but stating 2K is not accurate in terms of the actual people signed up. Here's where I want you to see my response and figure out if you feel like this is a fair response. If you want to grab us an accurate head count, we'll bring it up in the next episode.
Fair. Totally fair.
You're right. We might not have, like, maybe it's 1,300 and it's not as impressive. Maybe. I don't know. I still think 1,300 for a first event. I think what it tells me is a lot of these people complaining have never hosted an event. And 1,300 people anywhere is still impressive. Now, yes, it is the UFC, and a lot of people have eyeballs on it. But I feel like there's a campaign to be against something that hasn't happened yet. And we don't know if it's good or bad.
Right.
So that's part one. Let's look at part two, which was this comment. It says 2K, not even that much. Here in Texas, Austin or Dallas, the ADCC Opens get around 1.2 to 1.5 every time. So 2K seems reasonable for it being UFC. I think we're just shooting down barometers. I think we're just saying, like, that's not that impressive. And I go, I think it is. I think it's a pretty good number, honestly.
I think one thing is, okay, what did the ADCC Open get its very first time, right? And then two is, maybe there's only 2,000 to 2,500 people in the general area that actually are willing to compete, period. And that's the max. You can't go, hey, man, this event only drew 200 people to the Paralympics. And you're like, well, in our area, that's the max amount you could pull. Like, that's kind of I used a ridiculous example to illustrate it, though. Like, you're not going to get people who don't do jujitsu, who don't want to compete, to go compete. That's assuming there's 20,000 people in the area that actually want to compete, but they're like, no, this tournament's not quite right. I'm still waiting for the right one to come along. That's not the case.
I wonder if they're saying these things to set it up for the inevitable failure, because somebody else did point out, they're like, that's only that tournament. And I go, well, if you watch the rest of the show, we were pretty clear about saying the rest of the tournaments are not selling like that. And that might indicate a problem in the future, especially those markets aren't going to be as dense as Vegas is. So you're right. It might point out something in the future, but I think we were fair in our analysis of saying that plus that. Now, what gets weird is, I think people who were pro UFC BJJ found our clip and were like, see, 2,000 people. Look at that. And, you know, before I knew it, Tim and I were looking at each other like, oh, no, I think we're the poster boys this week for UFC BJJ is great. I don't know if they're going to like us in the future if we have anything critical, or they listen to the next two sentences that were said on the show. So there's that. And it says, sure, but it's Vegas. I mean, that's the kind of flippant nonsense that is just... Egg, I think you would be ecstatic if you had an open for the Wolverines that had 2,000 people or 1,000 people show up. So I think it is a matter of perspective, but I don't want to shoot down anybody before we really get the chance to see what it is. Having said that, let's look at this last one. Because of the many comments we got, Tim, this is the one that might have had me scratch my head the most. Okay? This one says, let me guess, Gordon Ryan won. I said, hasn't happened yet. LOL. Because I wasn't quite sure where to go on the comments. And then Sarah, if this is Sarah actually, was like, I know. And I think that's the part that's missing. I think Sarah acknowledged, I know, in there, but I think that actually got deleted. And then she changed it to probably has a tummy ache. But Cobra Kawai saying LMFAO, he was literally offered a role to coach against Craig for a reality show. He ain't doing the open. I felt like that was a real response that we didn't have to do on that one. Like,
are people expecting the high level pros to do the open? Like, I don't really foresee that.
can't tell you up or down who shows up on our threads at any time, Tim. I just know that there is an inherent, as I get these comments, like, how do I treat this? Like, I feel we need to get AI to put these in different buckets. Like, sincere question. Don't like you guys. Don't like you guys baked in a question. And nonsense. And if we have those buckets, I think we could probably discern this a little bit better. But I'm trying not to be a dick in every one of the responses. Sometimes, like I said, to the guy who says that's not an accurate headcount, I'm like, you get one for me. All good. Problem solved. On the record, we can say what it is. And you feel however you need to feel about that. Maybe it makes you feel good on the inside. God bless. We did it. So anyway, I feel like that is where we stood on the internet right now. So thank you to everybody who has chimed in with some questions and comments and or concerns. I'm going to take one last look here at the one that blew up to just make sure I didn't miss anybody that was out of pocket, because this was all just from TikTok. And it said, after the brackets were finalized, it's down to 1942. And there's a lot of talented kids. Yes. And, oh, good Lord, I didn't see that one. Okay, never mind. And it says, yeah, Jiu-Jitsu World League averages like 3,000 competitors. Okay, sounds good. It said, people can just go to Smooth Comp and see it's 1,900, right? And I said, so since we recorded, people dropped out, and they go, I was just letting you know it's not that great of a showing. So we're in the space of now, how about this, guys? Good luck to everybody at UFC BJJ Open. I want to believe they will pull people from that onto their show, but that's going to be the proof of burden to them come Sunday. So we'll see. They have already promised that somebody from Submission Hunter is going to get a spot on a future UFC BJJ card. That sounds awesome. Let's hope for our friends to be pulled up, because I'll tell you, the people who aren't complaining, the Tackett's, Varela, Brianna St. Marie, all people who really deserve success and don't seem to be doing too many seminars now for some strange reason. I wonder what that might be. Might be that they're eating pretty well right now. So God bless. Hope they're doing well. And let's move on to our first topic, Tim. Well, it turns out the Real American Freestyle has turned 1 year old, and they are momentumizing it with some great news. Tim, what was the big news that they were able to announce that might actually show the strength of the brand and why people need to really be paying attention to what's going on in RAF?
Yeah, Real American Freestyle turns 1 year old. This is a promotion that got off to a little bit of a rough start, losing their co-founder, the great Terry Bollea. Very difficult. They pulled it together. Eventually, the first show was exciting. The second show was good. They really started to hit their stride around shows 5 and 6, and they've been doing a fantastic job in youth wrestling. They're starting to build an infrastructure from it. Recently, they held a show in the country of Georgia. And now this is not an official count. This comes from an executive at Real American Freestyle. Said the capacity reached roughly 10,000 people in attendance, which outside of CJI, potentially ADCC. I don't know what the ADCC numbers are like historically in Vegas in terms of the live gate. 10,000 folks is a lot to come and watch Real American Freestyle. I know the NCAAs draw big crowds. So before you guys come online and say that's not that big, just shut it right now. Like, shut your shit down, put your phone down, and just listen for a second. It's still a really great number for a brand new promotion that is doing super fights. They're bringing in MMA people. They're bringing in real wrestlers. They're bringing in Olympians. They're bringing in social media wrestlers. They're doing a great job. They have their a birthday show coming up August 22nd. They're back in the town of Cleveland and they're expecting to sell out. They're expecting to get 10,000 folks in house. And I think, Raph, this is what I want to ask you. Whether people like RAF or not, and when I say RAF, I mean the other RAF, what are they doing right in terms of generating these types of gates? And I don't know if this is, all full paying price tickets. It could be comps, giveaways, whatever. It's still hard to get 10,000 people into seats to watch your event. Is there something we can learn here?
Absolutely. So I'll start by saying I think the number one thing that they're doing right is their social media presence. I think they've done an incredible job of getting people excited about it. I'd love to do a further study about who they're working with. I don't think it's traditional media. I think they have a lot of influencers probably leading that charge. And I think that has been some of the success of MVP MMA and also the UFC. Like, that's why there's been a big lean away from traditional journalism, because questions hard. And they're going more toward, hey, you're an influencer. Come over here and tell us why this event is so rad. And tell us what we need to know and show us clips that get us more salivating, like, oh, I got to see the next one. Because if you really think about it, Dylan Dennis being at the top of a card, I would not think that would traditionally sell well. And Vegas is off to a soft start, but I think when they get closer to showtime, they tend to do pretty good numbers. So their next event, October 3rd, or one of their next events, I likely will go see it. I think I'm going to go try and see it in person because I want to see what the magic is. I want to see what the appeal is. And I don't even consider myself a true wrestling expert in that world, but I want to learn and I want to see what they're doing well. Like, okay, show me. I'm going to be a student of the game and I'm going to see what they do well and in person. But I would say number one has been social. I think number two, it looks like a professional product. And three, just the talent that they've brought in. So those are three things without having gone to see a show myself from the outside. I want to revisit this conversation because I do believe I'm going on the 3rd. I think I've started talks with that. And I'm going to do a scouting mission. I want to see what it is. And I will answer that question with the second part then.
Can you do me a favor, though, if you go? Can you get on camera so we can have a Raf on Raf? Because I feel like a Raf recursion would be amazing. Just, dude, I'll turn it to a recursive GIF like the old Hasselhoff recursion GIF. We'll just have that file just Raf on Raf, just constantly.
I think it's going to depend who I'm going with because there is a big hesitation to take their Raf logo and put my name is also on their actual logo and try to get on TV.
That would be great.
That it would become a production cost so we could write it off here. So we'll think about it.
Hey.
But Tim, I appreciate you for giving those updates. Congratulations in order to Raf. They're about to celebrate their 1-year anniversary. And I feel like that is a notable thing. They've led the charge in sports that aren't the UFC and maybe not even MVP MMA of breaking some major waves. And I think it goes to show, as a reminder to us in this sport, if we get our shit together, we could have some success. I don't know that we can always be as exciting to wrestlers as wrestling is to their base, but I think we just need to find ourselves rooting for things a little bit more. So, like, we are the first people to always draw the line and say, like, hey, this wasn't great. We like this. We didn't like this. I think you see that division happening, that tribalism with UFC BJJ being told it's not as good as this. We don't know yet. And it might not be. And if we revisit it, I would tell you this. There was one person in the comment sections for UFC BJJ that I don't know enough, but hearing their account did give me some pause. And they said if it's anything like their test run went in Vegas a few weeks ago, yikes. So that's somebody trying to stir the pot a little bit, but it's knowledge that we don't have. It's just highlighting and raising an eyebrow like, oh, did they run something and then we didn't see it? I mean, maybe. Who knows? But at least they're trying to do a pre-rehearsal to get things ready. So, yeah, it might come back that way. But don't forget, the first the first ADCC Opens were promised to be telecast, and that's when the split from Fight Pass back to Flow Grappling happened there too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So-
listen, how many times have we tuned into an ADCC whatever match and we literally were looking at the side panel of a wall for mat 3 because the camera dude was eating a cookie? So, you know, it is what it is. It's going to be the first time. Let's see what happens. Anyway.
Agreed. Let's move to our next topic here, Tim, because I think somebody might have been looking at the board and going, why is Breathless up there? Well, it turns out that some people believe that grappling is not cardio. Now, granted, this is what my S&C guy tells me all the time, but it does appear that other people are doing either studies or pronouncements about it. So, Tim, what do we need to know about this new or maybe even old perspective that grappling is not true cardio?
You know, the cardio guys are just about the worst guys you have to deal with in the gym. The guy that's going to tell you that what you're doing for cardio is not the right way to do it. There's actually another thing to do. There's some tests that they did in Japan, and you got to change it up, and you got to do it this way. You got to do it that way. He's just as bad as Mr. Stretch guy that's going to correct you in all your stretches. Influencer, fitness influencer, red flag, Greg Doucette said grappling is too risky, too inconsistent, and too hard to be elite cardio. The comment that I actually found hilarious, because this sounds something like one of the 13-year-olds in my kids' class would say. He grouped MMA, wrestling, grappling all together. He said it's D tier cardio. I don't even know what ABC tier cardio is, to be honest with you. But when pressed a little bit more, Raf, Greg came out and said what he actually thought was the best for cardio, the best for cardiovascular building. He prefers cycling because it's low impact, repeatable, and easier to pair with muscle building. And I'm just going to say this. Pre-apologies to my cyclist friends. Pre-apologies to the Diaz brothers. I know you love to ride the bikes. These dudes that ride cycles go out on the weekend, share the road, put their tight pants on, get off at the corner cafe and wear their little clicky cleats on the cement and walk in and get their little latte. They are the most oddly aggressive, posturing sports guys on the planet. They get on that bike and now they feel empowered. So it doesn't surprise me that this dude likes riding bikes and he's saying BJJ guys have D tier level cardio. Get out of here, man. I'm not buying it. I just think this guy's trying to get a little cred. He's probably never done jiu-jitsu in his life. Raf, what say you? Would you rather put the spandex on, jump on the 10 speed, go pedaling around Burbank on Saturday morning, or would you rather put the singlet on and go throw some fool in a Boston Crab?
Okay, this is where admin reveal happens. I got into jiu-jitsu because I don't want to do cardio. So maybe I'm in agreement with this guy. Like, I found this sport because I didn't think I was an athlete. That doesn't mean other people who take this sport way more seriously aren't athletes. Let me give you a for example. Today, I saw one of the OGs, somebody who I have an immense amount of respect for, putting up this post. And it said, nowadays, it's tough to distinguish if someone actually wants to become the best at their craft or just an influencer. Okay. Sure. Feels like a pretty straightforward sort of sentence. Do you know who said it, Tim?
Rafael Lovato Jr.
Close. Another American standout, JT Torres. Now.
Oh, interesting.
If somebody says this, you know, sometimes you just go like, whatever, dude, crush it, work hard, do whatever. I believe JT Torres. And I will tell you, a JT Torres day for tournament prep, that looks like real cardio. I'm not going to distinguish anybody for saying you don't do cardio, you don't do this. I think what it's trying to advise us, and this is what I talk with my S&C guy about all the time, is like, you can't just rely only on jiu-jitsu as cardio, because some days are not going to be the same as others. But a lot of times if you're attacking an assault bike, that is probably going to be cardio in a consistent way. What I would remind people, though, is all things are not the same. I have seen people do marathons, do assault bikes, like nobody's business. And then all of a sudden, they get into jiu-jitsu competition and it's just not the same. Like the adrenaline dump, there's a lot of different factors that go into this. And sometimes the other person has been just as equally as trained. But speaking from my own personal experience, bro, I got into this because I'm not trying to do that shit. So it's really annoying when people are like, you know what, you guys, you don't do cardio. And I go, oh, hurts. Oh no, you figured me out, bud. But if you're insulting my friends who I think are savages, yeah. But I don't know that they're saying that. I think they're just trying to educate people to maybe be smarter with their training. And that I can get behind. So there is that. So it says BJJ guys are already on cycles, though.
Oh, that's actually, I didn't consider that. Now that you mentioned it, there are a lot
first
of
all, look in the mirror,
BJJ.
Brian, because just saying, somebody's been heavy on their cardio and their S&C. So good job on that, by the way. Let's move on to our next topic, which is that of yikes. So, a masked man scares Philly silly. We were just in Pennsylvania, so fortunately, I think we avoided a major catastrophe. But Tim, it appears that somewhere else within the city of brotherly love, there was some nefarious action happening that I hope to God was not my staff. But tell me a little bit more about this story, if you would.
That's what we did on Sunday morning. We didn't get cheesesteaks. Apparently, Chucky is chasing Philly runners. This is actually quite frightening to me, to be 100% honest with you. And a BJJ coach chimes in and he gives insanely appropriate advice. Create distance. Don't street fight the horror movie character. Stay away from him. So apparently, Philadelphia, news station out of Philadelphia aired a piece on this. There have been multiple early morning encounters somewhere around City Center, City Hall, downtown Philadelphia, with runners who are off taking their morning jog, and this dude just appears and creeps them out. In one case, he asked another lady if she wanted to race, just pulled up beside her at like 4:45 in the morning. On another case, he chased a jogger, said, "Are you ready to die?" One woman said she actually kicked the masked man in the chest. Good for you, after he confronted her. The 6 ABC, they talked to jiu-jitsu instructor Brian Rago, and he basically said, look, man, you got to have awareness, distance, and avoid the fight altogether. 100% agree with him on this. I'm saying if there's a dude in a Chucky mask terrorizing people in the morning as they jog, like I'm jogging in a group, and I'm carrying something. I'm carrying pepper spray. I'm carrying a whistle. I'm bringing something. I'm bringing a Chucky mask of my own, perhaps. Like I'm doing a neck brace. Chucky mask guy might respect neck brace. It does get respect in the wild. Frightening story, but man, this guy's asking for an ass kicking. He's gonna run up on the wrong dude, and he's gonna pay for it.
Yeah, these things always get really weird whenever we get to real life applications of people terrorizing folks. Because you always think like, oh, they play it up in a movie or they do something like this. And then those are the times when jiu-jitsu looks at you and says, but what if this happens to you? And you go, oh, man. All right. Well, guess I'm going to bring a knife now. Yeah. Nonetheless,
like, do you really want to jog with a knife? Like, who wants to go jogging with a knife? It's like, what is this, prison jog?
Recently, one of my friends tell me as they got into a flight, they're like, I had to throw away my favorite knife. And I go, why was it in your bag? And also, you have a favorite knife? Do you stay up at night ranking them like number 1,
Talking to them.
2? Nope. You're 3. You didn't open a letter the other day, so number 3. Let's move on to our next topic. Okay, we've already discussed part of UFC BJJ, but it bears repeating that tonight there is a pretty impressive card. So, Tim, what updates do we have for UFC BJJ 10 tonight?
So, yeah, a few updates. One that I just picked up on, to be honest. Tonight is the debut of the new bowl. So they're going to debut a smaller bowl with steeper walls designed to reduce resets and push action. This actually sounds like a new toilet bowl commercial. Not trying to big that up, but I think it actually could be interesting to see. I think it's a great idea that the UFC is actually doing some things on their own and not so much borrowing other ideas. I do feel like the design of the bowl is very interesting, but the way the mats, and I hope they fix this, but the way it's like they used mats that weren't meant to have that kind of bend and that turn in them. And you can see they just kind of like, mash it in there. There's some odd seams on the sidewall, so I hope they fix that. Outside of that, there are some cool things going on. Both Tackett brothers are on the card, with William taking on Fedor Nikolov. And then we know Andrew's in the title fight against Jonatas Gracie. There's another title fight on the line between the ladies, with Rebecca Lima taking on Brianna St. Marie. And there's also a kind of Grand Prix going on with the rest of the ladies. And I'm not sure what weight class this is, but we got 4 competitors going against it. Adele Fornerino is taking on Carol Brunicillo, and then Cassia Mora is taking on Bree Stick. I'm assuming the winners of those matches are going to face each other probably in a future UFC BJJ event. So it is nice to see that they're kind of like building towards these champions and exposing people to the same names. They need to do probably a better job still of telling the stories. It's going to be free. It's going to be streamed on YouTube. Comes on at 8 p.m. tonight. Some good fights on the card. I am looking forward to seeing this one, Raph. We also got Varela against, our... I can't say he's our Nolan Ryan. I love Nolan Ryan too much. But Wagner Rocha is still hanging around, man. Like, this guy's going to be 60, and he's going to be fighting on UFC BJJ, 72 or something.
I think you're right about that. And I want to point something out here, because I think it was put on an early notification, but I thought, wasn't it supposed to be Canuto versus, like, was it Mikey or somebody of that ilk?
I think that might be the next card. Card
it was
11,
supposed to be
maybe
on this one, but they ended up moving it.
Oh, I got you.
So there was some match that I just kind of had in the back of my mind, and I said, oh, is that going to happen? And I actually went to the Wikipedia page for it to double check everything. And that is also wild to me, that we now have UFC, BJJ, or just jiu-jitsu a lot more prominently featured on Wikipedia. Before, it would just be like, invalid, we don't know what that is. But Canuto versus Ethan Krellinston for the vacant UFC BJJ lightweight championship. However, this bout has been rescheduled to UFC BJJ 12 in October 2026.
Well, that'll be a good card, though, right? I think that's the same card with Fowler on it.
Yeah, I think they probably realized, between the ladies doing their title hunt and already having some championship moments on this, probably spread it out so that they can, get some more coverage for the rest of the year. So I wanted to update people on that, because I felt like that one just kind of came and went. And I don't know if they explained it on their pages, because I don't fanatically follow them, but like, I follow Canuto for sure. And Krellinston's somebody who always makes news, but I just didn't see them say it got rescheduled. So it was news to me, but I'm glad we were able to figure that out. Because, it's like, so many matches or things get proposed, and in the back of your mind, you go, I remember somebody mentioned that match. Where did it go?
Right.
Out to the, like, incinerator of where all beautiful dreams and BJJ matches of lore go. But speaking of which, okay, Let's move on to our next topic. This weekend at UFC 330, there was an incredible moment that featured a move that doesn't always get hit. So much so that the owner of the gym that I teach at goes, Raph, what the hell is that? And it was a Scottish Twister. And Tim, what was your reaction when you saw the Scottish Twister be called out very accurately by Daniel Cormier, which shows occasionally DC knows some ball.
Yeah, DC knows ball. He for sure does, but he does double down when he's wrong, and he will not change his mind. But that's okay. Great fight between Charles Johnson and Eduardo Chapolin Enrique. With Johnson, both guys getting their licks in, both guys going back and forth. But Johnson was catching some heavy shots, was looking a little worse for wear, and he pulls out the Scottish Twister in round 3 at UFC 330 in Philadelphia. Great move. Post-fight, Johnson dedicated the performance to the UFC flyweight Alan Nascimento, who died. He's 34 years old. He passed away from an apparent heart attack. But, I was so impressed with that technique. One is because you have to kind of know that move is there to even hit it. And then to pull it off in the third round of a UFC fight where you're taxed, you're tired, you've been hit a bunch of times, and you're going for it and you get the win. It shows you how versatile of a fighter Charles Johnson really is as a fighter, man. He's a tough guy to finish, and he finished in a really creative way. And I think it's only happened I know it's happened before. We might have seen 2 or 3 Scottish Twisters in the UFC. It doesn't happen a ton. Extremely painful technique. Chapolin looked like he broke his back when he tapped. He kind of laid there for a second. You're like, oh, he dead. Turns out he was all right. But great move from Charles Johnson, man. Pretty cool to see. I'm sure somewhere Eddie Bravo saw that and just was like, he probably said, that's cool, man.
Hey, that's actually really cool. I love when they did that. Actually, that goes back to the days when, if you really think about it, Verdum, he was probably the first one to ever hit a Scottish Twister, but it was like a Brazilian Twister. We called it that back then. Oh, man, it was so good.
That's a good Eddie Bravo, dude.
It's okay. I don't claim it's like my number one, but it's passable. And I don't see him a ton. So that's why I'm like, it's okay. But Eddie, shout out. Much love to you. All right. It's time to now switch to another topic, which is that of a new BJJ app. This one crossed my path within a few days, and I was intrigued by it. I saw that it was prominently featured on a Chicago news broadcast. But Tim, what kind of struck you, if anything, about this new BJJ app, and what did you learn about it?
So, yeah, there's a new BJJ app called Tap In that wants to connect the BJJ world. General idea is you could use it to find open mats, academies, schedules, set up, training engagements. It does have a social media aspect to it where your friends are training, this and that and the other, blah, 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 blah. Very interesting tool. I like software. I worked in the industry for a long time. Not hating on it at all. I think it could be very useful, especially when it comes to finding places to train, places that are friendly to train. That's pretty cool. But the social aspect of it is the part that just kind of bums it out for me, because generally that just turns into a bunch of lame stuff that you're trying to get away from already. That's why you have a special app, and you don't want to use Instagram, and you don't want to use Facebook. You're trying to get away from that aspect. But I think it could be a pretty powerful tool. Having said that, I don't know if there's anything on the market that already does it. For whatever reason, in the jiu-jitsu world, we can't have a main, this is the source of truth for anything. There's not one place to find tournaments. There's not one place to find athletes. There's not one place to find techniques. You can't verify records. It's just all over the place in general. So maybe this will be the unifying thing. We'll see.
Yeah, the weirdest part to me is I feel like every so often there is somebody who identifies that we don't have a collective way of finding things. And then somebody tells me we got a new app, and I go, okay. But I'm definitely intrigued to hear this. I mean, getting some prominent sponsorship or notoriety is always great, but them appearing on a news channel where they were like, so tell me about this jiu-jitsu was like cool because that dude got to spread the gospel of this is what we do. Here's a problem that I'm trying to solve. And it made me say, okay, now I'm interested to know more about it. And I would love to find out more as to what this does, maybe different than somebody else has. Tim, you and I have been around for so long that most people didn't develop apps for this reason, just because of the cost. And I would assume now AI is helping a lot of that become a lot more reasonable. But let's be honest, when it comes to finding an academy, we still mostly do Google searches to go out and find them. So if there's a way to help nullify that, especially when you're traveling and you want to drop in somewhere, I think that could be very, very helpful.
Yeah, I do too. And it is tricky to find spots. You know, you can go to gym websites. The hours aren't always updated. Google, business listings aren't always as active as they could be. It does, though, add another layer of, task-oriented work that the gym owner has to do. And as far as I could tell, most gym owners are historically on the do the least amount of work as possible side. Yeah. So
and
we don't want to pay.
Though,
we don't want to pay nothing. Don't ask for nothing. Sorry.
I mean, listen, dude, I get you. I think the reason why this hit me as such a beautiful one of the last topics we're talking about is because of the inherent other topic that we didn't do this week, but is people talking about open mats, because that has recently become a topic for discussion for people. And I don't know we need to spend a ton of time on it, but there is a consensus that some gyms don't do an open mat because they don't feel it's going to be productive. It's not conducive to their business. I did want to get your opinion on that, Tim, because Johnny Grippo did lead that charge by saying open mats aren't actually as beneficial or necessary for some people because it might not continue you to progress, thus saying it might be a waste of time for some people. What was your response to just that perspective? Because you are a gym owner.
Yeah. I mean, I think it can be a waste of time for sure. And some people really abuse open mats, unfortunately. And, that is always a concern. You got people who are trying to take all the free training opportunities all over town, or they're trying to come in and just rough people up and see if they, kind of treat it like it's a tournament. That kind of sucks. The other thing that is a little frustrating as a coach is when you host an open mat and you have more students from outside of your school than inside of your school, because you're really hosting the open mat to give your students an opportunity to train with other types of people. And when your students don't take advantage of it, then you're just basically holding an open house for a bunch of people who don't have a vested interest really in what you're doing per se. But I do think it's good for the community. I kind of came up in a jiu-jitsu world where we were always having a free open mat on the weekend, and it was just normal, and we just did it. And I just continued that tradition. Some schools lock it down to only their school. I get why they do it, because there's freaking absolute just terrible people who come into your gym and they ruin it for everybody. So some schools lock it down. Mine's still open, but I get it. It can be a waste of time. And anytime you train, you should have an objective in mind. You shouldn't just, unless your objective is I'm just going to go have fun, go have fun. But, if you're really trying to get better, you need to be working on stuff every time you have an opportunity to roll. That's my 2 cents.
I will say the only thing that comes to me as a response to what Gianni was saying, it's twofold. The first is, why is it always these incredibly talented people who will tell you about CLA and no open mats? And I go, I respect your opinion because you're very good at this. So it's not like, damn, what does he know? But from that same perspective, it's always these people that most of us are never going to be. So to them, they're like, I don't want to roll with some random spazzy white belt who could injure me when this is my business. And I think, yeah, it's kind of fair. Yeah, you don't have to. But to say it as like a statement that perhaps becomes a little bit more diluted from everybody having an interpretation of it, you can't help but take it somewhat defensively, where you think, well, I benefit from open mats, or I've met tons of people where it gets me out of my ecosystem to actually go to other people and see what they're working on, and to get a better assessment of, today I was trying to work on this, but this other dude who never sees me shut it down. That's actually really helpful for me. So that was part one.
Right.
The second one, I think somebody had this in a comment in response to that. And I think it might get to the heart of what I just said in a shorter amount of time for these superstars who have these opinions on these things, which is, do you guys ever just have fun?
I know. Why is it so stressful?
It's so exhausting. It just seems so like you hate this. What do you do for fun on this? And I think maybe the response to that from their business perspective is, it's kind of a job. Like, they love doing this, but their training is a job. Their teaching is a job. So they can't approach it from this like, I'm having a great time. I think they have to come from a very realistic perspective as business owners, and their body is their business. So I try to have that perspective when I read that stuff, and it feels like it's bait trying to get me to say something like, Gianni doesn't know what he's talking about. It's like, well, he clearly does. For him, he's succeeded very well at this. But shorthand, yeah, I know. Do you guys ever have fun?
That's a great word of advice to live by. Your body, your business.
That's it. Until we start telling people, you can't vote for your body. I'm going to vote your body down. New legislation. We control how you do jiu-jitsu. Tim, I'm opening up new legislation against your gym. You don't decide what open mats is. It's now we decide.
No more drilling. Yeah, I feel you.
All right, Tim, we're about to go to our low light highlight of the week. What can you tell us about this week's fight of the week, sir?
Party fight. Party fights. Everybody's having a good time until they're not. This looks like perhaps it was at the end of a concert. Still looks like a backyard concert party vibe. Somewhere in that area. I can't quite sort it out. But definitely party was over. People should have went home. Didn't go home. And these are the kinds of things that happen. Really appreciate my folks out there in the street fighting. I do. They're throwing down and they're keeping it real, man.
Well, let's take a look at it right now. Tim, walk us through your first interpretation of this.
So we got a disagreement over the carnitas, apparently, and Hector is not having it. Gets pulled away, but you could see, man, this guy's a beast. And it looks like the party's over. It's a disco. It's a party. Something's over. Some folks are chilling, but no, we're going to knock the chairs over. And I like the little hand to the head claw move that happens here when dude gets up. He kind of George the Animal steals him back to the ground. Some tables, some people. I'm still trying to figure out was this like a Tony Robbins Latin America Unlimited Power Conference? Is this just like a big banda show that kicked off? Maybe this was Subversive Mexico. I can't tell at this point, but something was popping off, my friend.
Okay, that's a good first interp. I do want to start this by saying, I'm going to pause here in just a second, but I can tell that I am more concerned about production issues than a fight, because my first thoughts are, wow, they got a few video walls. Like, at first I saw that video wall, then I saw they had a side video wall. When I started looking at all that stuff, Tim, I'm like, yo, they had some money at this event. Like, if they were putting all that stuff on the sides, like, good on them. Why did this break out? Well, obviously, if you look at the tables, you'll see some drinks there. But let's start off with this. Mexican Jean-Claude Van Damme, who let himself go, is starting with some heavy hammer fists here. He actually knocks a chair out. Oh, nope, just kidding. He didn't knock the chair out. Somebody was very kind enough to move the chair. Look at this hand of God that happens on the side. Outside corner, that chair at the very bottom. Somebody goes, nope, let's move this so that injuries don't happen to the chair.
Chairs are people too, Raph. Chairs are people too.
Chairs are people too. We need to really remember that. Now, what I love about this is everybody is doing what they can to close in on the situation, but not stop it. So everybody just kind of squeezes Mexican Jean-Claude Van Damme tighter without stopping the punches. They just kind of like go, hey, if we just all hunch in together like we're in an elevator, maybe he might cool down a little bit.
A Pentecostal prayer service.
Tim, he can't be stopped. He's got way more aggression to go after some of these friends. And the whip action is incredible. Gets off a good kick. Now he's fending it left and right. And this gentleman did get a takedown here. Mostly a chop and block that makes him lose his balance and staggers back. But what I did appreciate, and I really want to acknowledge here, look at the shift in levels he does. So he goes here, shift, push, down. Mexican Jean-Claude Van Damme won't stay. Well, hold on. A couple things. First and foremost, he gets like a little bit of turtle on his shell moment here because he doesn't quite get up. He just starts kicking the legs around like he's out of water. Watch. Then once he makes a point of contact, he extends the leg out to just try to keep balance, get the distance. And he uses the dude's arm to stand up. I think that's an impressive feat because he goes, you know what, dude? I can't help myself up. I've fallen and I can't get up. I'm going to use your hand. Thank you, sister. And ow, bam, bam, bam. So now you think cooler heads have prevailed, but he cannot be stopped like Godzilla versus Kong. He's got some more feelings to express. And you can tell when other people are trying to reason with him, this has now gone into Spider-Man and the Hulk talking to each other. There is no reasoning with them. But I do want to point this out, and I can't tell. I'm going to look at it one more time. I'm going to ask your opinion. There's a gentleman in a green shirt at the very bottom, Tim. I want you to answer as I play this video. Is he trying to help clean up? Or is he locking up that chair and getting it corked like he is going to shoot a gun? Or cocked like he's going to shoot a gun? 3, 2, 1. Defensive or helping them put it away?
Oh, his posture on the pickup was a little more aggressive looking, but then it's almost like he switched to like, oh no, I'm just putting this away, guys.
I think he might have recognized he was still on camera. But I don't know that it's dissimilar from when Henry Cavill was in Mission Impossible and used his arms and got them reloaded by going out. I think this is him in his action hero moment, grabbing the chair and being like, let's go. Like, that's what that looked like to me. And I go, you know what, sir? God bless. I'm glad it worked. Nonetheless, excellent fight. This fight was sponsored by tequila, no doubt. I have very clear intentions. That is what happened here. But for you, Tim, I think it's time we close out the show, and you should tell the people where they can find you, sir.
You can catch me at Inside BJJ on your favorite social media platform. If you're out in Nashville, come see me at 10th Planet Nashville. I love to have visitors. $30 drop-in fee. Super, super affordable. If you're out in Stockton, go see my homies out at 10th Planet Stockton. $20 drop-in fee. Even more affordable. This is Stockton. We get the people. Other than that, Raph, great day today, man. I just got a kick out of the dude in the Chucky mask, scaring joggers in Philly. What a psychopath. What a nut job. I hope it's just a joke because it's kind of a funny joke. Totally terrible, screwed up. There is a little slice of me that laughs a tiny bit, though. Good stuff today, man.
Appreciate you, Tim. Great episode as always. And, you know, I feel like we did the good work today, sir. And I apologize for getting us a little bit off the rails earlier. But I think we basically brought it back together in the end.
Yes, sir. All right, my brother. Tim. Much love, Raph. Much love, Craig Jones.
I will talk with you a little bit later. And BJJ Crin said J-Rod out of ADCC. I mean, that is news to me, so I'm not quite sure. Maybe? thank you for the update. We will try to look more into that a little bit later. This is the problem when you're on air for a while. You're just kind of like, what's happening in the real world? I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on. Here is what we're going to do for today. So I think we are going to, it says, bruh, I just got here. Y'all are gone already. Well, to be fair, we've been on for about an hour. So I have some good news for you, BJJ Cringe. Your boy Rafa Esparza is going to come back here at 5 p.m. and I'm going to do a watch along for today's UFC BJJ 10. I'm actually available. I want to watch it. I want you guys to watch along. So if you got nothing to do in like 3 hours, come back, hang out. We'll keep the party going. No longer on the official list. Well, BJJ Cringe, would be likely, but let's not forget Isaac Michelle was on a list for a long time. So it's kind of hard to tell, but I think you might be onto something. I think you might know something before we do. Thank you for identifying that for us. Appreciate it. As always, we try to keep you guys updated on all the news here at the Bullpen. But ladies and gents, that's essentially going to do it for us right now. As I mentioned, I'm going to try to watch at work. Please do. Tune back in. We're going to have fun all together. So here's the game plan for today. We're going to take a little bit of a break. We'll be back at 5 p.m. And then don't forget, tomorrow we're going to do another block party. And on tomorrow's block party, it will be Adrian Segovia, who's competing in the Sparstar BJJ that I am producing this weekend. And we will also have a classic episode of the Bullpen that will air in full. I won't stop the broadcast in the middle of it to tell you, oops, I got the times wrong, because that's kind of what happened on that. You won't be able to see it by now. I will probably put all those to private by the time you are aware of it. Nonetheless, I thank you guys, and thank you for supporting the block party. I really want to try and give you guys the opportunities to catch episodes that maybe you haven't seen, or give you a sneak peek at some of the stuff that we do for some of the premium stuff, or a vast look at the library that I have. So appreciate y'all. We'll see you in a few hours for UFC BJJ, but that's going to do it for us here at the Bullpen today. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.